Guys, unpacking commercial real estate where residential and commercial warehousing all blended in one, super rents. Um, what do they look like on the northern beaches? And we wanted to give you an example of one today that you could buy and you could get an enormous income. Stay tuned.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Morning, morning.
Josh Website, how are you?
Uh, good. Excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, it sounds like an unusually incredible purchase. Lots of rents, lots of potential to even add rents or increase rents. Blended income. Normally, you see warehouses, yes, or you see units, residential apartments, yes, but having a blend between the two, super rare. Tell us more.
Yeah, so we've got this amazing site coming to market. Probably see it hit the portals towards the end of the week, guys. But we thought we'd give our listeners and crew here on the Novak Morning Minutes a first look in. It's a multi-use site down towards border of DY and Collaroy. We've got 7 tenants. We've got a mix of retail shops, offices, residential apartments, and an industrial warehouse,
Cool.
all in the one sale. They're separately lotted, so there's a 1, 2, and 3 lots, but obviously all on the same block there as part of this deal. Income as big as $220,000. And then with this type of stock, you generally also open yourself up more to your growth in equity over time, because there's just, in my time, you don't see these pop up. Mark, you've been in the industry how long? Please explain how unique this type of stock is.
Look, I think when people have got great incomes, it's so much easier to hold on to the assets. So I think assets like this, people traditionally, if they're selling stuff, they'll sell something else and they'll hold this. So it's I think if you look at the average of people, average hold for properties maybe 7 to 11 years. Something like this is probably more like 20.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't seen too many with such a mixed use. All tenants are locked in under a lease. We've just had a new girl put in, which is how this all started. We ended up leasing the small retail shop down below. She's just put an amazing new fit out downstairs, and the owners turned around and said, "Look, I'm actually interested in putting this on the market." So very exciting. They actually operate out of the downstairs. The wife has a salon upstairs. He runs the office up there, so they'll actually do a lease back at a quite a favorable rate. But also in terms of unlocking the site further, he's actually had a town planner, and this is from the owner. Obviously, always check with council, guys, in regards to any additions or structural changes. About a further granny flat out the back on top of the industrial warehouse. So he said he's brought a town planner out, said there's potential to do that, and maybe even a third level. So there is definitely more ways to unlock the income on this side, and it's really got me excited to bring this one to market. After dealing with a couple of deals in Brookvale over the last 6 months, we've seen investors there actually take a bit of a hit on the usual yields. Generally, investors aim from anywhere between 5% to 7%. We're seeing places in Brookie sell between 3 and 4% as a yield, because investors are realizing that, look, it's that yield of 7% walking into a commercial property just really doesn't exist anymore, or it doesn't come to market. Like you said, they get held marks. So I'm really starting to see a shift in investors and their understanding of the market for specific suburbs. This is, and specific type of stock. It's not everything that they're willing to come down to these yields, but that real tight held stock, such as your big blocks in Brookie, I'm seeing investors, take a little bit more of a hit on the yield, either unlock the site more or appreciate that equity growth they experience in the Northern Beaches.
So, guys, if you just tuned in this morning, we're talking about buying some of the great buys we see, and buying stuff with multi incomes. And there's a particular property here that we have in South Creek Road in on the borderline of DY and Collaroy there. Now, this is pretty unusual because the multi-income stuff is very different to an apartment, like a two-bedroom apartment. A two-bedroom apartment, you'll be limited to maybe increasing the rent by changing kitchens or bathrooms. When you have a multi-income property legal, um, and what I mean by that is, you've chopped it up in in a legal manner, not in a illegal manner. Like if you turn a two-bedroom apartment into two one-bedroom apartments, nothing's gonna. It's not good. But when it's when it's a property that's a commercial property, often you can do stuff like that legally, easily, and generate huge incomes. This is where I see landlords actually get huge upshots because commercial is valued on yield. So if you can tinker and create income, you can then create equity or capital value out of that, and then you can actually you can sell it or you can lend off that and move upwards off that. So to give you an example, if this is generating 220, 240 in income, if you're doing those things you're suggesting today, Josh, like putting another level on it and creating another income, or massaging those rents or beautifying that property, then you're actually starting to get that. If you're getting 30% rent more, you're going to get 30% of the value of the property more. That doesn't happen in residential. Residential is not indexed off. The value is not indexed off the rent. It's indexed off sort of what it is. But these commercial properties are indexed off the rent. So there's even more focus or more smarts around increasing or how to increase that rent because it's directly indexing your value. You're almost making a multiple of 20. Get this, a multiple of 20 on every dollar that you bring in,
It's huge.
right? So if you're renting a property, this is huge. If you're renting a property for 10,000 more, you're gonna be selling that property for 200,000 more. So when you're doing these things that Josh is suggesting today, that's massive, and you can't do that with residential.
No, you really can't, and we've seen it, in front of our eyes. I know one of our colleagues, Michael, has a buy that recently purchased as well over in Brookvale, 22 Chard Road, and he's had a couple of properties where he's gone in, pretty much unlocked the potential in terms of value adds after he settles, finds the right tenant for the space, or it could be multiple tenants, and
Magician.
he's taken something that's 100 grand up to 250. The site's performing. He's then sitting on 1,000 square meters in prime Brookvale. So it's not only working for him in terms of a yield, but growing in the background. We've seen those metrics. Brookvale's just like the resi market, double every 10 years. So, that type of attitude and investing style seems to work, and it pays dividends.
Well, don't forget, I'll say it again. 10 grand of rent is 200 grand of value that you're building in. So if you're getting 10,000 more out of the property, you're going to be selling it for 200,000 more. That is the difference on your yields. Now, why does that matter? It's a self-watering plant for life. Once you've created that income, that plant just keeps self-watering itself and keeps growing. So back to why we're talking about this morning, these multi-income properties, they allow you legally to do that, and then they self-water themselves. Like, what a great opportunity. If someone, before we go, can you tell us exactly what this property is, what it rents for, what it sells for, and why you should buy it? And I'd like to, once this is sold, come back around and talk about the features and benefits and who bought it and things like that, and what they're going to do with it.
Yeah, definitely. So we're looking at, guys, a 650 square meter block, 3 lots. You've got 3 ground level retail shop fronts.
What's your address?
5 South Creek Road, guys. So if you're familiar with 21 grams, the coffee shop there, just next door over the driveway. This is it. You've got Nick Beauty that's just been put in downstairs. So she's done an amazing fit out down there. A lovely beautician we've just put in. So she's in there for another 3 to 6 years. We've got the lovely Mel down at the salon down there. She's got a regular customer's been there for some time. One of the owners, but we'll do a lease back. We've got a great Ben who I've got to work with, an amazing bloke. He'll be upstairs. They run a geophysic reports business to do with any ground reports, things like that. He's been in business a long time. We've got a really nice three-bedroom apartment in the middle of the complex. Now, guys, I feel like the rent here is a little on the low side. I think with a fresh coat of paint and a bit of love, you're probably going to get yourself that extra $10,000 a year just from a $200 a week upshot and a bit of renovation work on that upstairs. You don't see too many around the beaches, 3-bedroom for around that $860. I think they're paying at the moment. So definitely some upshot there. And then you've got a 1-bedder downstairs. It's actually quite nice. He's done some renos in there. Wouldn't need too much work. And then obviously you've got the industrial warehouse. We've got it's by Sonic. So they do all the blind cleaning in the local area, or they're a manufacturer and distribution as well. So
that used to be a mower shop at the back for
Yes.
any locals that may remember it.
Correct.
Yeah, great shop, great warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. And then so if we combine all those incomes together, guys, we're looking at about $220,000 per annum. Obviously,
That's
plus GST, on those commercial assets. Also take into account, guys, 5 of those 7 tenancies are commercial tenancies. That means that these generally increase anywhere between 3 to 5% every year as well. So your rent increases, as long as your rent reviews with your residential, you have every 12 months. So it's an ever-growing asset in terms of its income. Then again, you've got the ability, again, check with council, but as per my discussions with the owner, a granny flat on the back and potentially a 3rd level. I would think starting off with the granny flat would probably be the easiest, considering that what he's spoken about is just a stairs along the back, structure on top. Wouldn't be too much capital needed as opposed to putting on a 3rd level. So I think that would be the first spot to go. And you're looking at an extra $800 a week for a granny flat, 2-bed granny flat, I would say. If we're seeing what these boarding houses are going for per week around that $480 mark, I think that's, anywhere between 600, 800. Guys, there's another 30 grand, $40,000 worth of income. Times that by 20, just as Mark's told us. You start to see what this site can unlock. There's only, I think, 4 or 5 properties along that strip that have that retail presence along the bottom there. Who knows what's going to happen in 10 years' time? We've seen the introduction of the low to mid density or LMR changes recently, which we haven't seen anything like that happen previously. So let's see what the next 10 years brings us, and that's a site to me that has the E1 zoning that you could run your shop top housing. So you still keep that commercial presence along the bottom, and essentially you go for your residential on top. Now that's not approved now, but these are the types of sites you look out for changes in the future where that may be possible. So I'm very excited.
We've got to go. We're over time. Thank you, Josh. That's a great address. People that want to upsize, this is good. People want to downsize, this is good. Anything else you want to add?
If you want to see it before the portals, make sure you reach out because this one will go.
All right, legends. Thanks, Josh. Have a great day. Industrial, commercial, residential, office, all blended into one purchase. What a great buy. Take care. See you, mate.